Hello and welcome back to the Game Bet Match podcast. I'm your host Manny Friedman, doing a solo pod today to preview Kitzbuhel, Umag, and Washington. One of my favorite weeks of the ATP calendar. We basically have tennis around the clock, tons of matches, 3 events, one 500 with a 48-player draw. It's going to be a fantastic week. So I just wanted to kind of preview my futures bets, take a look a little bit at the draws and go over my match plays for Monday, the 21st of July, where there are a lot of matches. So let's get right into it. So the first one I'm going to talk about is Kitzbuhel. We're playing in Austria here. It's at altitude in the Alps. So it's relatively fast conditions. I would say pretty similar to Gstaad in Switzerland last week. So big serves, kind of aggressive games are gonna play up typically. Guys that like clay, but prefer a quicker surface. They're gonna play better. I would say in that surface. Umag is more a sea level, kind of a slow with heavy conditions. So that kind of plays more similar to Bastad. This week. So my favorite futures bets in Kitzbuhel, I'm targeting two guys. I'm targeting Nico Yari in quarter two. This is where he thrives the most. He thrives the most at clay and altitude throughout his career. I'm a little bit more keen to back him now, given he had a good Wimbledon campaign. He seems to have gotten some of the mojo back. He's kind of a guy that thrives on confidence. I feel like when he's not confident and he's not hitting his spots on the serve and the big forehand, he's really, really limited. So I'm really hoping he can continue that decent form from Wimbledon and do some damage here. I kind of like his draw. I think his draw is okay. I don't think it's fantastic, but I think playing VDZ is a decent matchup in round one. I think he would play Misalik or Echeverry in round two. Echeverry has really taken a step back. I think he prefers altitude too. Probably the slightly better mover. Obviously, if they would play, I would target like overs. I think it would be a pretty close match, but I think Yari should be a slight favorite there. I think Misalik is a guy that prefers sea level clay. I'm actually surprised that he's here instead of Umag. And his potential quarterfinal opponent would be RBA, who I don't think would thrive at altitude conditions. Seaboth Wilch, who really has struggled this year, or Engel. So that's a pretty weak little section there. So I think if he would get to the quarters, he would be a favorite against either of those guys. So I'm getting, I believe it's 4-1 for him to win the quarter. And I also like 18-1, I believe I got on him to win the title. So I think those are decent plays. Another guy I'm targeting in Kitzbuhel is Arthur Rinderknecht. So Rinderknecht, he lost in the first round in Gstaad, losing to Passaro. Played a pretty poor match, to be honest. But I'm not, I think he's been undervalued for most of the year, and I think it's continuing here. Just like the market is reading into that poor result, and I think these are conditions that should be good for him. Maybe the surface transition was tough for him coming from grass. Maybe having another week of practice could help him. I really, the question with Rinderknecht is, can he defend the backhand well enough? His backhand is weak. It's relatively flat. So he has to be hitting that consistently in order to have success. And that's the biggest question mark with him. But that being said, 6-1 for him to win the quarter, where Baez, who's really, really struggled and looked really hopeless against Darderi last week. I think that's a price that's attackable. And 40-1 to win the tournament. I just think that's a bit far fetched, to be honest. Just looking at some other guys here. So Rinderneck is 40 to 1, but like Gaston is 33 to 1, Shevchenko is 33 to 1, Tarante is 28 to 1. Struff is 25 to 1. I know Struff has a game that's suitable for altitude, but Offner is 20 to 1. Fushevik is 20 to 1. Like those are all guys that I would put Rinderneck slightly ahead of. I'd probably put him at like 20 to 20, probably 20 to 1. So I think 40 to 1 is a really, really good price on him, especially given his weak quarter that he's in. So he's another guy I'm attacking. Switching over to Umag, much slower conditions here. Usually hot, so they play more night matches, I believe. There, I'm targeting Damir Zhumer here. I think he has a fantastic draw. Obviously, he gets a bye as one of the higher seeds. So he has one less match that he has to play. So that's obviously a good bonus when attacking a quarter price. Wawrinka would be his presumable opponent in round two. That's a really good matchup for Damir at this point, where he can wear him down, make him hit a lot of balls, and I think that's a match that physically Damir has a massive advantage. And Wawrinka still has power, but if you can mask that or counter that power with good movement, which Demir has, I think it becomes really problematic. We saw that with Elmer Moeller last week or 2 weeks ago when Wawrinka played a challenger. I thought Shevchenko did a little bit of that last week in Gstaad. So um, I really like that matchup for Demir. And then he'd play Druget, Garin, or Kopriva in the quarterfinals. I think Zhumer would be a favorite, sizable favorite against pretty much all of those guys. I thought he played pretty well in Bastad. I think he should be motivated this week because the surfaces are getting quicker again. Once we go to America and then the hard court swing and the indoor swing. So I think, this is a really good opportunity for Zhumer to get some points. So I really like him there, and I like his outright price as well. At I think I got it at around 18 to 1. He took a set off Dolo, who's he'd obviously be a dog to him, rightfully so. But he's a pest out there. So on his day, I think he can do some damage. For me, there's no reason why Garin should be the same price as him. De Jong coming off a long week at 12 to 1. And Bastad, there's no reason why he should be ahead of him. Majorak, I think, plays better at altitude. Clay, I don't think he should be 11 to 1. I think people are kind of looking at him and overvaluing him just because of the deep Wimbledon run. But I think that's not correct. Ugo Caraballi at 10 to 1. I mean, he's shown promise, but I don't view him as being better than Damir Zhumer. And then those three top, Dolo, Darderi, and Navoni being the favorites. I mean, that's accurate. But I think Zhumer is more in that Navoni range. I think I kind of view them pretty similarly at this point. So I really like attacking Damir. If Brad wants to do the plus 210 to win the quarter as a GBM play, I'll be in. And the other guy I'm attacking in Umag is Dino Prismic. So he's been doing some damage on the challenger circuit. Had a lot of wins in a row, building the confidence. But it's not ATP level opposition. It's lower ranked, but wins are wins. And I think he has a game that could translate to the tour just because of how kind of athletic he is. And I think he just needs to play better. Shot selection needs to improve a little bit. But he has promise. There was a little bit of a setback today in San Marino against Lucas Klein, but it could be because he was thinking about this tournament in his home country. I think his quarter is pretty tough. I mean, he'd have to play Elmer Moeller in the first round, who has a good backhand, but let's be real. Prismic, should be a favorite and should be beating him. Basilashvili, who's very erratic, and I think if Prismic can make it physical, I think he has the edge there. RCB is in that quarter too. I don't know if he's 100% healthy, and Darderi is also in that quarter, who obviously he's playing really well, but I think there could be a letdown after a long week in Bastad. Winning titles for these guys are a big deal, and like to back it up, it's tough. So 5-1 for me is just good enough. I kind of like Moeller as well at plus 650. But I'll take my chances with Dino here. Not a big play, but 1 unit is definitely worth it for a 5-1 on Dino Prismic. In Washington, so based on the qualifying stats, it seems like the courts are playing a little bit quicker. Piranha mentioned it today to me earlier. So Washington is a tough tournament. It's hot and humid conditions. Typically, there's usually some weather, some delays. There's no roof or anything. It's right before two Masters 1000s, so the draw is pretty good. I think the draw here is probably going to be a similar level to what we get in Toronto with Alcaraz, Djokovic, and Sinner pulling out, and Draper. So I think we're going to see kind of an expanded version of this draw next week in Toronto. So I think I have a feeling we're going to see quite a few upsets here. This is a tournament where I typically have not done very well in betting. I tend to back someone that's a more tough-minded, more kind of mentally adaptable to kind of adverse situations, like rain and delays and that kind of thing. So my guy that I'm targeting here is Alex de Minaur. I got him at plus 750. I think you might be able to get him at plus 800 on certain books. I think Bookmaker had it at 8-1. I really like the quarter he's in. I think being in Musetti's quarter makes him the most attackable. Like if he was in Fritz's quarter, or if he was in even Holger Rune's quarter. I mean, those guys might lose early, but I would be less keen to attacking him just because of their talent advantage and ball striking advantage. But having him in Musetti's quarter, I think, is a really good thing for him. Musetti struggles on hard court. He didn't look 100% at Wimbledon. So I think he should be the favorite to win that quarter, no doubt. The other guys in his quarter, potential threats are Lechka and Nakashima. Lechka, I don't think, has the mental capacity to deal with delays and that kind of stuff, and I think he's a little bit too erratic. And Nakashima, I think that's a good matchup because de Minaur can expose his lack of movement and kind of make it physical. So I think that would be tough for Nakashima if they would play. I think he looked rejuvenated at Wimbledon. I mean, there was concerns about him being kind of mentally gassed and burnout after the French Open, which he said after his loss to Bublik there. But I think he showed good tennis at Wimbledon. He won that first set easily, 6-1, and then he was really competitive in the next three sets. And that's what you should expect out of de Minaur. So if he's doing that, I think he's going to be a tough out here. Going into match previews, so I guess we'll start in Kitzbuhel. I have two plays there. The first one is Comasagna against Boyer. So Boyer for me is a pure fade on clay. He's lost in the first round at Bastad and two challengers, Trieste and Modena, the last couple weeks. Now he's going to different conditions. He's going to altitude, which I don't necessarily think is a great thing for him either. Comasagna has more firepower. He just played at altitude in Gstaad and had two comfortable wins. He lost to Bublik, but I thought that was Bublik's best match of the week, and I thought he kind of took the racket out of Comasagna's hands, which is not going to be the case here. So I'm on the under 21.5. I'm pretty confident about it. I like that play. Next match is Rinderknecht versus Bagnes. I mentioned how I have Rinderknecht in the futures market here. But I think this is going to be a competitive match. But I do think Rinderknecht's attacking game, and I think his serving prowess is going to prevail here. His lefty forehand could be problematic for Arthur. Bagnus, let's not if you look at his ranking, there's an 800 next to his name. I mean, he's not that bad. I mean, he's old. I think he was injured, but his game does play up at clay altitude. He's had good results in Cordoba and Santiago in the past. So, I think this is going to be competitive. But I think Arthur should win. I think he's slightly undervalued just because of the poor result last week. So I'm playing the Rinderknecht plus the over 20.5 on Bet Whale as a parlay at plus 140. Not too confident about this one. I would say that this is one of my lower confidence plays of the day. Moving on to Umag. So we got Zeppieri against Seng. I don't really understand the Seng hype. I feel like he's been favored. I think he was favored last week as well against Hugo Gaston and got whooped in straight sets. I understand he has rally tolerance. I understand he has good movement. I understand he's pretty mentally strong, but he lacks weapons. And I think Zeppieri had a really good qualifying campaign, and I think he has more weapons at his disposal. I think he's able to hit through the court a little bit better. It's going to be very slow conditions. So at plus money, it's for me, it's a no-brainer. It's a decent size bet for me. Navoni against Barrios Vera. So they played a pretty competitive match last week in Bastad 7-5, 7-5. Navoni, he's a pest out there. He's really solid, but he struggles to win by margin because he just lacks weapons. Lacks an ability to win free points. I feel like he does get tight closing out matches. I think that seems to be a common trend with his tennis. And I like the over 12.5 here. I think Navoni should be favored, but I think he's slightly overvalued in this match. I think people kind of view him as being a little bit better than he is, whereas last year I thought it was the other way around. So I'd be cautious backing Navoni as like a 4.5 game favorite. But I like the over 12.5. I get about minus 110 on that. Not my favorite play of the day, but it's a good one for me. Next play is Wawrinka against Gillian Meza. So I love attacking Wawrinka set one lines just because that's when he seems to be, physically the most fresh. Even last week in Gstaad, I thought he played a really good first set against Shevchenko. He just couldn't win a single big point. I think he had like 6 or 7 break points, but couldn't convert. And then Shevchenko got him at the end and then turned the match in his favor. So I think, looking at that match, people might be like, oh, Wawrinka is back to, playing like crap. But I actually think he's not bad. And I think the slower conditions in Umag are better for him. Just because like the ball is slower, so he has more time to wind up and more time to get to the ball. And then one of Wawrinka's biggest strengths right now is that he's able to hit through the court. He has so much natural power that I really think he can bully Gillian Meza around. Especially if he serves first. If I get the minus 2.5 in the first set at plus 154, I think that's a great line. Especially against an inexperienced player who's going to be nervous. I think in his first main draw ATP match. So plus 154 for Wawrinka set one minus 2.5. That's my play in that match. Next one is Basilashvili against Carballes Baena. I really like the Bashman here. I think, Carballes Baena is really going to struggle hitting through the courts. Slow, muggy conditions. I think, Basel has way more power. He should be able to bully him around the court. And if RCB is not fully healthy, I think it's going to be really tough for him. RCB relies on his health. He relies on like tenacity and uh, physicality to win matches. And if that's not there, and Bash is able to kind of bully him around the court, I think that's going to be a tough ask. So at this stage, I'm going to back him. If this was maybe two 2 years ago when RCB was healthy and having good results at these clay 250s, I'd be on the other side. But right now in this present moment, I got to back Nico here. Next match, Altmaier and Arnaldi. Just it seems like a nightmare match to bet. These guys are very, very erratic. You have no idea what you're going to get with them. They could play some amazing athletic tennis, but then they can also like go through patches where they can't find the court. Both guys are pretty similar, so this is a match where I'm going to see who has the plus sign next to it and hit that. So I'm going to hit Altmaier plus 160. If this was plus 130, I'd stay away, but at plus 160, it's worth a shot. Not a big stake, but you got to take plus money here. Plus money or pass. That's Altmaier and Arnaldi. That's heading into Washington bets. So just want to preface that. More Washington bets. Bonsai against Marjan. Another match in which I'm going to take the plus money and then back Benjamin here. I prefer Marjan on slower courts. I think he's better on clay, whereas Bonsai I prefer on quicker courts. So I don't really understand the line. I think it kind of should be flip-flopped maybe, or maybe closer to a pick. That being said, I can't make it like a 2+ unit play. It's not a GBM official play candidate just because Marjan's ceiling is way higher. So I think, if Marjan plays his peak level, I think it's going to be really tough for Bonsai, but I also don't think he's going to reach that level. Bonsai has, decent serve, good all-around game, and, he's more equipped at taking the ball early. So plus 125 is definitely a good price on him. Next match is Quinn against O'Connell. So this is a sad state of affairs for O'Connell. He's lost 10 of his last 11 matches, barely winning sets. It's really been a tough go for him. And on the other hand, Quinn has been really good. So I just think you're laying 2.5 here. I think I really think it should be 3.5 or 4, just given O'Connell's horrible form and the opposite trajectories that these guys are going in. So, O'Connell also has a pretty big swing path and he just lacks firepower. So I think these quicker courts in Washington are really going to hurt him here. So I'm on Quinn. I'm laying the 2.5. Next match, Cassoni against Opelka. Love the dog over combo here. You got plus 350 on Cassoni on Bovada right now. For me, that's a play just due to the 50-50 nature of Opelka's tennis and how serve body he is. I think regardless of how much higher ranked Opelka is, he's not the player he used to be. Prior to the couple of years of injuries that he had. So I think if Cassoni can extend rallies, I really think he's live here. And obviously we're expecting tie breaks with any match that Opelka plays on a quick court. So to have a neutral 22.5, I think that line is gonna move probably. It's probably gonna be 23.5 or 24 by match time, but I was able to get it early. I'll be posting it on 3 break points if the line is still the same after posting this Twitter live feed. But yeah, neutral 22.5 on a quick hard court for an Opelka match. Yes, please. I'll take that. Next match is another serve bot. Vukic against Mapechi Pericard. I can't take Pericard as a decent sized favorite given how terrible he is on return. I understand Vukic is not great on return too, but he also prefers quicker courts and has a good serve and forehand. So I can't see pair card break. The total is 25.5, so we're expecting tie breaks. So the fact that I'm getting plus 145 on Vukic is just too good to pass up on. So if they were playing on clay, I'd probably stay away. But on a quick court, I'll take a stab on Vukic. And then the last match, Lerner Tien against Emilio Nava. Fascinating match. I really had a lot of fun watching Nava last week, especially against Rublev in Los Cabos. The guy has talent, but he really struggles with his shot selection. I think he goes too big too early in points, especially when he's like 10 feet behind the baseline. He is a good shot maker and has natural ability. So I think that's why he tries it, but it's not an effective play necessarily. And I really think that that's what Lerner is going to expose here. That's one of Lerner's strengths is shot selection and discipline in rallies. And I think he's going to expose that in spades. And I think that will be a deciding factor here. Also, Lerner has that lefty forehand that can open up the court and pin Nava into the backhand corner. And I think he's going to try to get out of those patents too early. And it's going to create some errors. So, and it's a fade on Nava after a long week in Los Cabos. So I'm laying the 2 here. I'd probably lay it up to 3, but that's a decent sized play as well. So a bunch of tennis, bunch of plays, tons of excitement. Love the engagement on X. It's been a fantastic ride. Remember, we are a Bet 105 sponsor. I'll be posting a link to our Bet 105 affiliates or Bet 105 page where you can get a special bonus. Typically, it's the standard $25 sign-on bonus, but with this link, you can get a $50 sign-on bonus with a special code GBM. So I'll post that all on the comments here on the YouTube subscriber page. So thanks again. Please subscribe on Bet 105. Please follow us at Game Bet Match 123. And I'm sure Brad will have some plays as well, and we can do some GBM plays as well. 3 break points has been fantastic. So just tons of excitement, heading into the U.S. hardcourt swing, which is already getting underway with Washington. So best of luck on your bets, everyone. Thanks for listening, and have a great night.